Yo, we're back. Another fantasy baseball podcast. I'm John Anderson. Producer Lee is here. Producer Lee, how are you?
I am doing pretty well. Had to kind of soldier through that first week. My fantasy team didn't produce exactly the way I was expecting, but not all doom and gloom. Has some bright spots.
You and me both. Rough weeks for me and all of my teams, and I'm a little under the weather right now. I don't know if it's like the kids thing or the changing weather stuff, or if I'm just like not a healthy person anymore, but I get sick like once a month now, and the kids just noses are always running, and it's snowing today, so a very dreary day today. You maybe hear my voice. We'll try to keep upbeat a little bit. Hey, we are a part of the Rotoballer podcast network, and that's where I do most of my writing. I don't have an ad, but you got to shout out Rotoballer. Tons and tons of stuff up there every day. My starts and sits are up for every pitcher matchup this week, and that comes out every Sunday for the week ahead, updated throughout. A score and a start sit recommendation for every probable pitcher. So if you're on the fence and you care about what I think, give that a look every day. I also write pitcher waiver wires. That comes out Sunday mornings. Waiver wire pitchers to pick up. I write breakout hitters. That comes out on Thursdays. And lots more stuff. It's not just me over there. We have dozens of writers. Maybe not dozens during baseball season, but handfuls. And definitely check them out. And we appreciate them letting us be a part of the network. Big personal news for me as I tell the world to a bunch of people that don't care, especially in this case. I'm having a third baby. Lee, you already knew that, I guess. I wanted to surprise you on the podcast, but we didn't make it.
Yeah, you. I think you dropped that info on us in our private messaging group last week.
3 kids. Did you ever think I would have 3 kids?
I could definitely see it. I mean, you're an upstanding citizen of the Christian community who values family. So,
right.
I figured whenever you guys had 2, that was going to be it. A boy and a girl was like my dream. So, I figured when you hit that was going to be it. But pumping one more out.
Me too. I thought that too. And it's not how it happens. Some people just. Well, we don't have to get into it, but obviously my wife and I are blessed in that regard of like physical ability to reproduce. And of course, yes, us Christians are all about spreading our seed and pumping out more Christians, forcing them, just having babies and forcing them to be Christian. And that's how you up the Christian share of the population right there. Just make it happen yourself.
So about those daily notes.
Oh yeah. So that's coming out every morning. I have a script that runs and puts all these stats together from the previous day and the last 3 weeks, which is now just the full season, and a bunch of good stuff on there for free. So if you check that out, it's if you sign up for the mailer, you'll just get it in your inbox. Otherwise, you can go to my Twitter, and I pin the tweet every day. It's jona.substack.com. Something every morning, tons of stuff from the previous day and the season. And then if you would be so kind as to become a paid subscriber for $5 a month or just $40 a year, you get bonuses. I have a bunch of data sheets. I have daily projections, weekly projections. So every day you can see what the box score projections look like. And that's kind of centered towards DraftKings because it has the salaries there and the total fantasy point projections there, so you can use that to build lineups if you play that way. But even if you don't, if you have a couple hitters you're deciding between in a daily roster setting or something, you can go compare that, and that works in the pitcher matchups and the home ballparks and all that stuff. So there's that. And recently I also added a spreadsheet and a Tableau dashboard that shows you pitch mix changes. So it automatically finds any pitcher that is throwing a new pitch this year. We'll talk about that with at least one guy or two coming up here. But again, check out my Twitter there or jona.substack.com. Chances are you've seen it if you're listening to the podcast. But that's been fun. But my head is spinning a bit. I finally kind of gotten all this automation stuff. I mean, I've just done like way too much stuff for fantasy baseball, and I mean, I'm probably writing and churning out more stuff than anybody else, and I shouldn't be because I have a full-time job and a family. But the Python, man, it's just like a remarkable skill to have. Half my work is done just by a couple clicks of the button after I spend some time at the beginning coding stuff. So it's been a fun time. All right, Burl Flub, as we call it. Why do we even call it that? I think at the very beginning, you remember?
Yeah, it was FLB Fantasy League Baseball, I believe. ESPN had it listed as, and we just pronounced it Flub, like, because there's no no vowel in there.
Why did they do that? Fantasy League Baseball isn't how you.
Yeah, doesn't really make too much sense, but yeah, whatever. We just have to roll with what we're constricted to at this point. We're 15 seasons deep or whatever, so we're going with the Flub.
Even on like my Google Drive, I guess it doesn't show up in like the files I share out, but my like folder name is FLB, and everyone's probably just like, "What is it? Why would you call it that?" But me and you both took some losses. Let me talk about what happened to me quickly. I know this is the part of the program that nobody cares about because it's like the age-old rule that nobody cares about your fantasy team. But this podcast isn't about what the people want to hear only. It's about what I want. I just a disastrous pitching week. What did I put up a 5.55 ERA, and that's like I had tons of innings. ESPN, of course, the website isn't doing the sums correctly, so because it is a terrible website. But I mean, I started at least 20 pitchers. My God, Mitch Keller. I tried him once. He got bombed. Shohei Ohtani had a terrible week pitching. I started Steven Matz. That went well. 9 hits and a walk in 3 innings. That's a whip killer. The old 3.33 whip. Ryu got bombed. Dropped him. Max Fried was horrible. 11 innings, 7 earned. Oh, my God. And Aaron Nola to top it off. He actually pitched pretty well, but it's just like that's his thing for the last 2 years now is he'll strike everybody out and walk nobody, but then still give up 7 earned runs. So not a good start for me. Offensively, it was okay, middle of the pack offense. My Dodgers got off to a slow start. I have Betts, Turner, Lux, and I have those 4, and they just like didn't do anything in cores, so that was really annoying. But they were obviously okay. So my offense is fine. Judge, Ohtani, Kittel, Trey, Betts, pretty good offense, but the pitching led me astray, and the opponent had a really, really good week. So I got murdered. And Lee, a lot of the same for you, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you were right down at the bottom of the league in our roto score. We're a head-to-head league, but we still keep our roto stats to trash talk each other with. And we were basement bottom dwellers or basement dwellers, however you want to say that. Really, my week from a hitting side wasn't terrible from a counting stat standpoint, but when it comes to like average no BP, my guys just were not getting on base at all. I had
225 like 18, average, 328 on base.
It wasn't good. I mean, guys, that you'd expect to hit for something were hitting for absolutely nothing, and then the guys that don't expect to hit for anything were hitting absolutely nothing. So
that Schwarber week was sweet. His first pitch he saw, he hit over the fence, and then 4 for 36 after that, or 4 for 35.
Yeah. So he got some stats in against me there early because pitch had on my opponent.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. Okay.
Nah, yeah, that was the wrong team there. But yeah. I mean, Jordan, he missed a game, and then he was on the COVID list for COVID-related symptoms for 3 games or so. So I didn't have him in some juicy matchups. Soto really is like a bright spot. He's just being himself. Verdugo kind of popped.
You went through the Trent Grisham thing. You got the 2 for 26 from Trent Grisham.
Yeah, not great. Matt Chapman, I mean, obviously he doesn't really hit for average as we've seen the past season and a half, but that was kind of a bomb there. Austin Meadows was playing pretty well, but then he was sitting against a few opponents there. Gurriel Jr., same deal. I mean, that Toronto offense was kind of humming along, and he wasn't doing too much until the last 2 or 3 games here. And then I had just some other guys we might talk about later that are not playing up to their standards.
Well, your 2 aces, Freddie Peralta and Jose Barrios, gave up 16 earned runs combined. So.
Yeah, absolute Titanic from those guys there. I figured Peralta might correct that second game, but it was just more of the same nonsense from him. I mean, he's still getting strikeouts, which is good to see, but I mean, I I don't want these 4 or 5 earned run games. Not looking great. Some of my back end rotation guys that I picked up later in the draft that I was kind of banking on having decent seasons, like Alex Wood's pitching pretty well. And then we can talk about Haney too. I'm sure we'll get into that. Yeah. But other than that, it hasn't been too bright for me. I got saves. I never draft for saves. I think I had like 6 saves last week, which was great. And then Ryan Presley immediately goes to the IL. So definitely lost half my saves.
The first year you've ever like drafted a top closer, and it's the worst one.
Yeah, that's why I should just not do this. Just stick to my guns like normal and figure it out.
So we're playing each other this week, so that'll be big. We'll probably play to a tie or something like usual, but I'm down. We do each category is a win, so my record is sitting at 2-8-2. So that's just, I mean, you did a little better at 4-7-1. You kind of can take those, but these like 1 or 2 win weeks are pretty brutal. So I need to bounce back. I need it more than you do. So
okay,
you can let it go there. We're going to talk about some up and down hitters and pitchers, and that I think there's just so many names to talk about that'll probably take care of the whole allotment of time here. We're going to try this at least. This might end up sounding dumb because it won't happen because we never tried this before, but I'm going to try to share my screen, and we're going to try to put out a video version of this podcast as well, so you can see the screen. But if you're just audio, don't worry, we'll explain everything in words too. I'm just going to share my Tableau, the John PGH MLB 2022 dashboard. And if you haven't seen this thing, which you probably haven't, because I'm trying to restrict it to only Substack subscribers, because it's just I don't want to toot my own horn, but this thing is sick. And if you want to see and hear more about it, basically it's just a customizable stats dashboard with a bunch of different reports and stuff that you can plug in and run sliders and do everything, and it gives you whatever numbers you want. So you'll see it. So if you're listening on audio, this would be a good time to, if you want to see this, check out the YouTube version if it does come out. But we're looking okay right now, Lee, right?
Yep. Yeah, everything looks fine.
All right. So the hitters, the up hitters, we'll start with that. Of course, if you listen to any other content or go on Twitter, you've heard about Steven Kwan, but I was the one in our home league to get him. You can see it was just a ridiculous start to the year. He didn't strike out until, like the 5th or 6th game of the year. But
yeah, he didn't even swing and miss right for a lot of pitches.
Yeah, so here's the game logs. You can see, right, first 5 games, no whiffs, didn't strike out until that 6th game as well, and he had 8 hits in his first 3 games, just putting everything in play and benefiting a bit from good luck, of course, because he was hitting like 700 or something. But these last 2 games now, he's over 7, but just 2 strikeouts now, so... one of those was against Carlos Rodon, so you can forgive that a little bit, I think. But Kwan, I have him. I think he's someone you need to roster. It looks like there's another filter on there, too. We missed another game where he went 0 for 4, so it's even worse. His last 3 games, he's 0 for 11, but only the 2 strikeouts. So putting balls in play, and that'll happen. You'll just you can hit a bunch of balls in play and just have them not fall for hits, but... hasn't hit a home run yet, has just the 1 barrel, so maybe more of a 10-homer guy, but the average and on-base percentage should be awesome. And if he stays at that top of the lineup, the runs should come as well. Kwan would be a guy that you would be picking up if you were available, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not available. You took that flyer on him early, and
before the season,
he's probably one of the only bright spots of your lineups. That's one of the only people we've heard about from you all week. You had really nothing else to brag about.
Yeah, this was fun. This first 4 games were quite fun. But then he fell to the pits like the rest of my team. So Kwan, I'm picking him up. Maybe we've been a little overreaction early on, but if you need some batting average and runs, certainly he's not going to kill you, I don't think. But hopefully he can hit a few homers. His teammate Owen Miller has actually surpassed him. This guy, 8% barrel rate, a 500 batting average, only a 15% strikeout rate, 12% walk rate. So all these numbers are amazing. I mean, you're typically looking for strikeout rates below 25% is good, and then below 20% is like really good. Walk rates above 10% are really good. You can see the contact rate right there, 89%. I mean, that's way above the league average. In the mid 70s is what the league average is, and he's been hitting for a little bit of power. 8% barrel rate's about league average, but Owen Miller, another huge plus there. He was left on our league waiver wire for a few days at least, and then our buddy Mitch got to him, so that was a nice pickup for him. But next names, let's talk about the old JA rankings as well. I have another algorithm running that ranks hitters and pitchers every day and gives them season scores. So I'm going to show that here. This is another thing. This sheet's available for premium members of the Substack. Nolan Arenado coming out number 2. He was number 1 for a few days there. Jay Ram passed him up yesterday, but he's been just awesome. He's the number 2 hitter by there. I don't know. This isn't really all that worth talking about because someone in your league has him and they're probably not giving him up. 433, low strikeout rate, only 11%. But I don't know. I can't imagine this stays at 11%, right? He's like a 24% guy since joining the Cardinals. So would you trade Arenado? Would you at least try that if you had him?
Yeah, I mean, he could potentially be a very good sell high candidate. I mean, he might even keep playing a little bit above his head here the next couple weeks or so, but everything kind of has to even out at some point to align with career numbers. I can't see Arenado having some sort of epiphany breakout season at his point in his career, but he could be definitely a good sell high candidate. The average is going to come down when the strikeouts start going back up, but he's going to hit home runs. RBIs are going to be there, so I think you could sell him.
So what I'm showing here now, I have like a pitcher game log sheet here, and you can put in an offensive team that they face. So I put in the Cardinals, and I mean, you can see just the list of pitchers here, really not an impressive list. And this is maybe getting a little bit too into the weeds a bit. Anytime you're like going to this level, you might be overdoing it. But Cardinals have played the Pirates and the who else? There's these names I don't even know. I mean, obviously the Brewers are there because you see an at bat against Josh Hader, but man, I mean, a bunch of no names. It looks like they played the Pirates, Royals, and Brewers. So the Brewers have some pitchers there, but the Pirates and Royals are 2 of the worst pitching staffs. So that Arenado is probably just going to be who he is and who he's always been. But I think that strikeout rate can mostly be explained by just some bad pitchers he's faced. But you're not mad about taking Arenado, and I don't know, probably not going to get anybody to overpay for him anyway. But for me, he's someone I'd be seeing if I could trade, for a first or second round guy that went in your, a hitter drafted in the top 20. I would definitely give up Arenado for right now. Seiya Suzuki. Goodness.
Yeah, he kind of he's one of those guys where everyone's questioning what's going to happen to him. Obviously, his first year in the States, major league level, really either goes one way or the other for one of those kind of players. And he's just absolutely been smashing it here the past week plus. I think he was on your magic formula or your hitters to look at. Yeah, especially with the barrel rate and all that. Very, very interesting to see him kind of break out here early in the season. What are the advanced metrics and underlying stats?
I didn't have any because I just assumed that like the transition from any other league to the majors is, I'm just going to bet against that most times, but 33 plate appearances, it seems like I'm wrong. I mean, and it's not just anybody can come out, not anybody, but a lot of guys you see come up as rookies and hit a bunch of home runs right away, but he's also walking a ton, 21% walk rate there, 83% contact rate is really good. And he's hit the ball pretty hard. He's got a max launch velo of 111 already, so things are looking good. It is a little higher than average strikeout rate at 27% there, and maybe pitchers will adjust because everything changes after some people get some more tape on guys. But 4 homers and a 35% barrel rate, that's ludicrous. I mean, that leads the league. So he's someone that I probably wouldn't be looking to move unless someone will give you like a, I don't know, top 30 hitter or something, but he's looking like a top 20 guy right now. So Suzuki for sure. Quickly, Lindor, the bounce back looks real there. Looks amazing. He's one guy that went maybe a round or two too late in some leagues, and he's slugging 606 early on, 3 homers already, just a 12% strikeout rate, and walking a ton. So things look good for Lindor there. Gavin Lux, he is the number 10 hitter on the JA ranks, and he's hitting 320, getting on base at a 455 clip, and slugging 560 with 1 homer and a few barrels, 15% barrel rate there, not striking out much, and walking a ton. But he's hitting 9th in the Dodgers lineup. I don't know what obviously not every lineup's 9 hitter is like, that's not as big of a problem for the Dodgers as it is for other teams. But I don't know, how much would you downgrade someone like that if you think they're going to stay in the 9 hole all year?
I don't know. I mean, I would find it hard to really kind of start betting against him or keeping him out of your lineup whenever he plays, just because, you know, the Dodgers are that one or two select teams that can go 9 deep with some decent hitters. So I think he's going to have a good shot still at producing some numbers. But I mean, by no means, I don't think he should be, you know, your absolute number 1 starter, but definitely good for that flex or utility spot. Maybe, you know, plug in against, you know, lefties or righties, whatever he's hitting better against. But, you know, he's one of those guys, I think, if he keeps sticking around the lineup, whether it's, you know, the 8 spot, 9 spot, I still think you got to play him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you're lacking is like those, we're looking at his game logs here from the dashboard. And if you're like a number 1 or 2 hitter, you're going to have at least 4 plate appearances every game with some minor exceptions. But then you really get a lot of those 5 plate appearance games. And Lux has only seen that twice so far. He's hit 8th once, but he's been 9th every other time. And you see his plate appearances so far, 4-3, 3-5, 5-2, 4-3-4. So you're definitely like losing out on a plate appearance as compared to if he would be the leadoff guy. And he's been the Dodgers' best hitter so far. If it were any other team, you'd be like, okay, they have to move this guy up. But I mean, you're going to move Mookie Betts down, or what are you going to do? So, and then he could probably be justified like moving him up to 6th, but maybe they'd rather have him 9th just to turn it around, and then for him to get on base in front of Turner, Betts, Freeman. So I don't know. I do have some Lux. I drafted him at least once, and I picked him up in our main league, so that's been good. But he looks like he's breaking out a bit. He's one of the let's go to the notes, because I have the other thing that I have in these daily notes is the magic formula qualifiers I have for both hitters and pitchers. I have a magic formula that I will not disclose, although you could probably guess it if you looked at it for long enough. But right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hitters qualifying in the magic formula algorithm there, and Lux is one of them with the 18% strikeout rate and the 15% barrel rate. The other names there, Anthony Rizzo, Brandon Crawford, Jeremy Pena, who we aren't going to talk about, but he's been just incredible. Jose Ramirez, Luis Robert, he's not French, Marcell Ozuna, Mike Trout, Nolan Arenado, Pete Alonso, Rowdy Tellez, who I picked up today, and I'm excited about him, and Tommy Edman there. So all those names, really, really good stuff. The magic formula is mainly based on strikeouts and barrels, but there's a little bit more into it. But good news for Lux.
Yeah, kind of real quick, going back to what you were saying about being buried in the lineup there and losing those at bats. Just look at that list. You know, you have Lux at 33 plate appearances, and then like look at Rizzo 41. You know, right. Ozuna 45. So it's like you could clearly see where there's a bit of a discrepancy with the at bats there, and then extrapolate that over an entire season, and you're missing out on 120 at bats, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. He did sit one game, but even then, even if he would have gotten 4 in that game, 37, he's still like 1 game behind. Right, the Rizzo, and Rizzo hits leadoff or 2 for the Yankees, so that you can see that. I mean, just over 8 to 9 games, you're losing basically 1 whole game of at bats. So, but who knows? 1 injury away. You know, if Betts goes down, you would think he'd be the natural guy to slide in there. Okay, a couple more names of the hitters upwards variety. Austin Nola, he's not not all that interesting. But if you need a catcher, I mean, this guy, he's available in a lot of leagues that I've seen, and he's seems like one of the better hitting catchers in the league. He's been injured quite a bit, although the numbers aren't looking too good here. He must have had a bad game yesterday, and that's kind of what can happen here. One bad game can change the numbers quite a bit. Only a 4% barrel rate, and he's only hitting 233, but low strikeouts 11%, and a decent walk rate there, and a nice contact rate 90%. So maybe, yeah, I guess he's looking more like a batting average guy. Hasn't shown a lot of power, but he's shown it a bit in the past. I know 2020 he had a nice year, and maybe we shouldn't even count 2020 at all. But hey, Austin Nola, if you need a catcher that can do something, check your waiver wire for him. Andrew Vaughn, Jesus Sanchez round out my hitters that are on the upswing. Jesus Sanchez, let's see what the update was, but he had a really nice looking strikeout rate before the last couple days. And it's even gotten better. Yeah, only a 17% strikeout rate now. He has huge power. We've always known that. Just crushed homers in the minors and did it last year too as a rookie. I think he homered at like a 32, 33 homer pace over a short sample, but the problem was like a 33% strikeout rate. Now that's up. That's down to 17%. Again, only 36 plate appearances. It'll probably trend back up. But if he can put more balls in play, you're going to see a bunch of home runs, and you're going to see the batting average follow. That's just what happens when you strike out less. Your batting average goes up, and he's hitting 343 to start. So he's probably rostered, but he's someone I'd be buying. I mean, you can overpay a bit for him, at least overpay, meaning like what would have been an overpay 2 weeks ago before the season. I think that's probably fine now. Don't go crazy, but he seems like a really legit source of power, and you might even get a decent batting average out of it if this strikeout stuff's for real. Andrew Vaughn, also, I think he slowed down a bit, but he was super hot out of the gate. Still hitting 348, 2 homers, 11% barrel rate, and a nice strikeout rate. I think he's playing every day. He got benched twice. I don't think it's happened since, but La Russa does stuff like that. Andrew Vaughn really crushed lefties last year, but struggled a bit overall, but he's looking better this year. Anybody else, other hitters that you've noticed on the up side of things?
Yeah, on the upside of things, yeah. I mean, really, I'd pay attention to my roster more than anything, obviously.
Yeah.
You do a lot more analysis on the full player pool, but just looking at some people that kind of stood out to me early. He had a few down games, but he started off super strong. Bregman was kind of showing some of his old form. He was looking pretty good. We touched on Verdugo whenever I was kind of doing my week one recap. He's hitting 300 right now. He has 3 home runs, which, you move that to the entire season, that's way above his normal 12 to 15. So he could be somebody that if he makes some minor tweaks or some corrections there, he might be a guy to look out for.
The home runs aren't something he usually does. He's got 3 of them already. He's got as many home runs as strikeouts and as the same amount of walks. He's got 3 of all those, so looks pretty good. He was someone you drafted for batting average and maybe some runs, but maybe he can hit a few more home runs this year. It'd be, let's see. Let's show off here the batted ball in play plot. And
let's take a look.
What you can see here is every batted ball shown by exit velocity and launch angle. And we can filter by Alex Verdugo, look at his home runs, and we'll see if they were cheapos. Here they are. One off Sonny Gray that went 108 miles per hour. No cheapie there. Don't have the distance here, but 108 and 25-degree angle. That'll be a home run anywhere. Next one, 109.6 miles an hour, 30-degree angle. Yep, absolutely. And another one at 104. So 3 totally convincing home runs. Good sign for Verdugo. And now now I can't trade him. Now I can't get him off of you, Lee, I guess.
I really liked him coming into the season, like you said earlier, just real quick for the batting average and runs. But if he can keep this up a little bit, the RBIs and the home runs, I'll gladly welcome that.
Yeah. All right, now to the down guys. We're going to start with Jared Kalanick, even though I'm pretty pumped about his bounce back here. And what happened here is he started the year with 0 hits up till April 12th. That's 5 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 16, 17 plate appearances. He had 1 hit, and it was a single. He had struck out 9 times, and had no barrels. And then I tweeted about how awful he looked and about how you could probably drop him. Since then, last 4 games, 4 hits, a home run, only 2 strikeouts, and 2 barrels, and another nice game yesterday with a double. He's got 2 singles, a homer, and a double in that time, so looking much better. I don't know if he's like depending on your team, obviously, he's probably not like someone you have to start, but I was ready to drop the guy, and now I'm not. So, do you feel good for me about that? Or were you rooting for the failure?
Yeah, and I'm rooting for the failure not because he's on your team really, but because of last season. Our buddy Paul, he picked him up or drafted him. I can't even remember how he got him on his team, and he was a big Kalanick fan, and we really wanted to see Paul fail. So really nothing against the player himself, but I just I might have put some points down for him getting sent down to the minors on the super forecaster too. So I kind of want to see what happens with him if he goes back down.
On the JA ranks, we have 154 qualified hitters, and he ranks number 143. So still not good overall. The 2 guys, the 3 of the bottom 4 are Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez, and Mel Reyes. And Will Myers is right after Witt there. So that's your bottom 4 with Mel being the bottom man. I mean, man, Witt and Julio, I guess it's not like a shocker that they come up and totally stink because it's their first try at it, but that's pretty surprising, right? That Witt and Julio could be this bad.
Yeah, I think just looking at like the last 7 days, Julio's struck out 10 times, which is pretty bad. And Witt, he was kind of touted as that big tool player, and he can kind of do a little bit of everything for you. Nick in our league kept him actually, which we were a little bit surprised about. So that something like that could really really tank you. And he's one of those guys though. I mean, he has a talent, so you expect him to turn it around, but it's kind of just like, how long do you have to hang in there? Is it going to be like a Vlad Jr. situation with that first season, or is he going to turn it around, the next few weeks here and catch fire? Not too sure where the underlying numbers saying.
You want the one thing I heard about Julio was that he has struck out like a handful of times on like borderline pitches or pitches that were out of the strike zone. So like that's a little quirky thing. So maybe there's a little bit of bad luck there, but I mean, Witt, I don't know what his strikeouts look like, I guess. I don't have a tool for that. Maybe that's something I should develop here to show how these strikeouts went. But is he a 33% strikeout rate and a 3% walk rate? So the thing I like to look at most is the K to walk differential. And for a hitter, you want Juan Soto had a -1 last year. So he has more walks than strikeouts. And that's obviously absurd. I mean, that's not going to happen for hardly anybody. But you still want 15% to be the difference. 25% strikeout rate, 10% walk rate would be a 15% differential. And that's good. And anything less than that is getting elite, closer and closer to elite. And then as it gets closer to 0, you have those exceptions. But Witt is at 30% now. I mean, I'd probably be cutting him. I don't know. I mean, I know he steals some bases, so you have that extra value if he does kind of get a little bit better, that he has the speed. But man, and I know in our league's context, like you said, our buddy Nick kind of picked him up late last year, and he didn't get called up, but we still let him keep him. And he made this big bold decision, I'm keeping him. I'm keeping Bobby Witt, and he's gonna be awesome. So he's definitely not gonna just drop this dude before at least May. I'd say he's probably pot committed or whatever you'd call it.
I think it's gonna take a lot for somebody like Nick in Nick's position, or someone that drafted maybe Witt a lot earlier than some other people were gonna want to ride through this. But once you get into middle to the end of May into June in the summertime, if he's still playing like he's playing, I mean, he's not worth a roster spot.
Yeah, I'm dropping him in redraft leagues. I think that's fine. Julio Rodriguez, I'm probably on the same thing. The plus side of Witt is that although maybe this has changed, I do have a lineup tracker file. We could even go to Mike Curlin's. Oh boy, here we go. Let's see if he's been moved down in the batting order yet, because that has to be happening. But he was hitting number 2 for a long time. Here we can look at Mike Curlin. You can see his Twitter name up there. He was the brains behind this idea. I was the developer. But if you want to see lineups throughout the year, you can come to this dashboard. This one's free for anybody. And we'll see. No, Bobby Witt has hit second in every single game the Royals have played. They didn't play yesterday. They get rained out.
I believe they got rained out.
So not yet, but they have to. I mean, they're going to have to bump him down. Although maybe not, because who are they going to put? Maybe they put up Adalberto or Nicky Lopez. Maybe they swap those two or something. But the problem with Julio Rodriguez is, what I was going to say is that even at the beginning of the year, he wasn't hitting high in the order. So not only has he been terrible, but now he's been their eight hitter, their 9 hitter yesterday. So that's certainly not going to get any better unless he starts to hit. So those two, if you're in a redraft league, obviously it's a different story in keeper and dynasty, but I think you're probably better off just cutting. One guy that you're not going to cut, that we just mentioned him, is Mel Reyes. 41 plate appearances, a 150 batting average, no barrels, no homers, 37% strikeout rate, and a 2% walk rate. I don't know. Maybe he's hurt or something, but maybe it's just bad luck to start the year.
That's kind of shocking. I mean, not even any barrels. He's one of those dudes where you're not going to expect him to break out a huge batting average, but I mean, this guy just swings the bat, right? That's why we're drafting him. Potentially 40 bombs in a season, and he's starting off like this. It doesn't look too encouraging.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a barrel. The ball doesn't have to fall into play, so like you can smoke one and get caught, right? But obviously, a flyout that you hit really well is still going to qualify as a barrel. So that's why I kind of like to look at that. And he doesn't have one yet. And we're looking at his ball in play plot here. He has hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 balls above 100 miles an hour, but it looks like 5 of them have been hit on the ground, all below 15 degrees. 15 degrees is maybe I think at 10 degrees it's call it a line drive or so. But he's still hitting the ball pretty hard, so he's swinging the bat hard, but he's only gotten one of those in the air, and that was too high in the air. That's a pop out, as you can see here if you're watching this video part. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't do anything differently with Mel. I'd probably try to acquire him. I offered Clint, our other league mate, Stephen Kwan, for him this morning. Got shut down pretty quick, so probably a good move for Clint there to just immediately dismiss that one. You'd have to imagine Reyes will turn it around and start hitting some homers, unless there's a problem with his health, which maybe that'll come out. But way too early to start pontificating him, or is that a word? Prognosticating on that, I guess, is what I meant to say.
Something along those lines. Sure, we'll roll with it.
Joey Votto, also really rough start to the year. He was the guy last year that just retooled everything to hit more home runs. He was giving up more strikeouts, which he certainly is this year. 38% strikeout rate this year, but the difference is he hasn't hit the barrel yet. Just 5.3% barrel rate. I'm guessing that's like 2, and no homers, and a 147 slugging percentage. So not even getting extra base hits, and that Reds offense is not good. I believe they're the worst offense in the league, so that doesn't help him when he does get hits. If we look at the team offense tab here, I mean, look at all the stuff you can do with this dashboard. My goodness, you don't have to go anywhere else. The Reds, dead last in OPS team stats.
Yeah, that's looking pretty putrid for him, unfortunately. I know, I think Mitch drafted him and Ty France maybe back to back. He said, he was like, I'm gonna get the average with France. I'm gonna get the power with Votto, and Votto's struck out 15 times already here.
Would you bench him or drop him, or just if you had to pick this week? Let's imagine.
I'd say this week I would probably bench him, and then let's see what happens. Through a full 6-7 games, and then I mean if it's still looking pretty bleak like that, it's just like wasting a roster spot. Like you could pick up another pitcher, get another start. You could just try to plug somebody in that's hot and just try to catch something there. But it's pretty tough. I wasn't looking at him at all to draft anyway, so I'm glad I didn't have to even worry about that. But obviously other people have taken the shot on him.
And this thing with like Votto, how it's different than like Kalanick or Julio Rodriguez. Like if you drop Votto and he like gets back to how he was last year, you're still not really gonna miss that. I mean, it's a lot of homers, but he's not a guy that is gonna go like 25 homers, or he's not a guy that's gonna go 30 homers, 20 steals for the rest of the way. Like he has no stolen base upside, and the batting average probably isn't gonna be there. And if it is, it probably means that he's not hitting home runs. So the upside is just like not really there. So I'd be much more willing to cut someone like Votto, like an older guy that isn't going to steal, rather than one of these young guys that has immense upside. So, but I'd still hold on to Votto. Dansby Swanson is striking out a ton. He's been really bad. I mean, he's down here 6th to last in my algorithms ratings, right in front of Votto. So Votto's bottom 10 guy as well. I don't know. Swanson's a well-known commodity. I'm sure he'll strike out less and hit some home runs, and the Braves lineup is only getting better. I mean, it's already very good, and Acuna coming back in the next for 2-3 weeks, so probably hold Swanson, but he's not giving you the power, which is what you drafted him for, and the RBIs. But hold off there. Josh Donaldson, and Kyle Schwarber as well. We talked about Schwarber, but let's look at Donaldson first here. He hit a homer this weekend after he's another guy I like tweeted about how awful he had been, and then like 5 minutes after I said it, he hit a homer. So he's on the board there, but 35% strikeout rate, that's way higher than what he usually does. 7% walk rate, that's way lower than what he usually does, and just not hitting the ball hard. So I don't know. He's someone you feel like you make decisions on these older guys a little bit quicker because it's so likely that this is a result of just the age creeping in there. And the first thing that would go is that strikeout rate. If you're just not able to swing the bat or react as quickly as before, you're going to see more strikeouts. So I'm still holding Donaldson just because, he's hitting at the top of the Yankee lineup, but probably a sit this week until you see if he can turn it around a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I was just thinking about the Yankees kind of making that investment in both him and Isaiah Falefa, whatever his name is, and just they're kind of getting cratered right now in their real life lineup, for the stats that they're getting. You kind of take a risk on two older guys there that are, Donaldson, you're looking for the power. Isaiah, that's defensive specialist, maybe some steals and some things in there, but he's not even getting on base either. So Yankees kind of rolled the dice, and they're not getting much of anything out of those two guys.
Yeah, they had to move Aaron Hicks up to the leadoff spot the last two games. Donaldson moved down to 5, but then he was up to 3rd yesterday against the lefty. And when I say yesterday, we're recording this on Monday, so yesterday means Sunday the 17th. I don't know. They want to play Donaldson, and chances are he's perfectly fine. You have to keep in mind the most games we're talking about is 10. I think that's the most games any team has played. So take it easy, but we got to talk about what we can talk about here. So not good for Donaldson. Again, Schwarber, not great for Schwarber either, but he's someone that you almost expect. You fully expect Schwarber to have these streaks throughout the year of 40 plate appearances and a 140 average, which is what he has right now. That's not surprising because he strikes out a ton and kind of sells out for power, and he still has the 2 home runs. So I don't think I would change my thoughts on Schwarber whatsoever, just based on who he is, and this is kind of how things go when you're that kind of player. So, all right. We're cruising along here, 42 minutes in-ish. Let's talk about some pitchers, and we'll show more of the dashboard here. So here's the pitching sheet here. The first guy let's talk about kind of popped up on the ranks yesterday. I believe he's the number 1 ranked pitcher now on the JA model pitcher ranks. Nestor Cortez, and we're talking about really limited data here because he's made 2 starts and only thrown 9.1 innings, but he wiped him out yesterday, huh?
Yeah, I watched his entire start. Dude was just mowing him down. It was pretty cool to see. And my thing with Nestor Cortez, nothing to do with the stats here, but the guy has a mustache and looks like you'd see him like drinking a Miller Lite at a dive bar, and he's like 50 years old, and the dude's like, I think he's like 28 or 29, I don't know. So I've always been thrown off by him in general, but he was he was killing it yesterday.
Yeah, his 48% strikeout rate right now, again,
insane.
Very limited. Let's see what the Arsenal looks like. You can use this tab, the Arsenal breakdown tab, to see how all of his pitches are playing. Put Nestor in there, throwing so I didn't know this about him. I haven't looked at him, and I missed on him on waivers because I blew all my ads like by Tuesday. So I didn't even have the choice. Someone picked him up and streamed him, and I'm guessing he's going to be kept for a while now. But he threw 59 cutters so far this year and 59 four-seam fastballs. So that's nice to see, because typically you can throw those pitches out of the same exact arm slot, and they look a lot the same, but the four-seamer will rise or stay straight, and the cutter will move a bit like a slider. So when you have those two, that's a really nice sign. You see a lot of pitchers really doing a lot of damage with that. Corbin Burns is the primary example. Probably plenty of examples of guys that throw both that aren't good either, but it's better to see a four-seam cutter variety rather than just one of those. 37% CSW on the cutter, 29% on the four-seamer, highest swinging strike rates on both. These numbers are all going to come down. I mean, you cannot sustain a 15% whiff rate or swinging strike rate on a four-seam fastball. I think Alek Manoah was the league leader in that last year with a 15% rate. I don't think he's that good, but impressive yesterday, although it was against the Orioles, right?
Yes, it was against the Orioles, but you know what? I mean, you're inducing that many whiffs. I don't really care
Yeah,
what team you're playing against. That's a lot. I mean, he looked pretty nasty.
yeah. Someone that I did identify this guy after his first start, but couldn't get to him either. Although I drafted him in one league, so that was good. I didn't make too many good late round draft picks, it seems. But Kyle Wright for the Braves through 2 starts, a 34.5% CSW rate, a 36% strikeout rate, and just a 2.4% walk rate. Let's see what those actual numbers
Yeah,
are.
he has just one walk in 11 innings, 15 Ks. Of course, the first game was against
Yeah, wow.
Cincinnati, so you couldn't really put too much bank on that. But against San Diego, team's not a slouch team. He looked pretty good, 9 Ks in 5 innings.
Yeah, 15-1 strikeout to walk rate is crazy. 11 ground balls, too. Only 8 fly balls and 3 line drives allowed. So about half of his batted balls in play are going for grounders. So he's checking all the boxes. I believe he's a Magic Formula qualifier. Let's see the list here. This list will have a lot of the guys we're going to talk about. The Magic Formula qualifiers for pitchers. This is based on strikeouts, walks, and ground balls. Aaron Nola, Chris Bassett, Joe Musgrove, Josh Fleming, Kyle Gibson, your boy Kyle Wright, Luis Severino, Tyler McGill, and Andrew Heaney, who we'll talk about next, who also dominated yesterday for your team, Lee. What'd you see there?
I didn't get to watch the game or any of the replays, but I just know he had a shit ton of strikeouts and he was looking pretty nasty. So I can't tell you anything
Yeah,
metric wise
10,
on that, but
10.1 innings this year, 40% strikeout rate, and 7.5% walk rate, 50% ground ball rate. And I believe he changed his curveball, or he is throwing it. He either added a slider or he changed his curveball to move differently, and now it's classified as a slider. But here you can see in the pitch mix changes dashboard, this is also available for people on my Substack. It identifies all these new pitches, and you can see that the slider he's using 28% of the time now, and he didn't throw it at all last year. So that's working out. Things are looking good for Heaney. He was someone we liked early on. You heard him talked about on the My Guys episode. If you listen to it, he was one of mine and one of Kev's. So great news there for Heaney. You kind of just wanted to give him a shot since he was going to the Dodgers. It's such a good place to pitch, and so many guys that have success there. So good stuff for him. Chris Bassett, very successful. We're going to try to speed through these a bit, but Bassett, someone you drafted, but I would be holding tight to him. He looks very solid. The strikeouts are up a bit over what he's done in his career, and he just throws like 6 different pitches. It's just a thing of beauty for him, and he's going to, it seems like he's going to blossom even more so with the Mets. Let's just take a quick look at that. Yeah, he's thrown 6 different pitches: cutter, four seam, sinker, slider, curveball, changeup. Not all of them have great numbers, but pretty solid stuff from Bassett. Matt, or actually, I don't even know this guy's first name for sure. Brash. What's his first name? Matt Brash?
yeah, I think it's Matt, right?
Matt Brash. Yeah, all right. I questioned myself there. 12% swinging strike rate so far, 26% strikeout rate. Huge walk problem, 17% walk rate. But a rookie that looked really good in his first start and got a little wild last time. But I don't know. I try to avoid the guys with high walks, but the upside seems to be there with Brash. Have you paid any attention to him?
Yeah, I caught his last start. He looked pretty good. Like you said, he got in some walk trouble. But other than that, I mean, he's passing the eye test. He looked pretty good. Paul in our league picked him up, I believe, or maybe even drafted him. I can't remember, but it was either a late draft or he picked him up after his first start, and that kind of might pay off for him. But that's one of those guys, like you said, with the walk problem, you never know. We could see him just totally fade into oblivion here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's just so dangerous to walk hitters like that. And Paul Blackburn, a guy I wanted to add, but got juiced on him, so I don't have any of him either. But 26% strikeout rate so far and a 3% walk rate, looking really good. Although this was a guy that like there was no people talking about him before the year, and it's like one thing to get 2 good starts from someone that people thought beforehand could be like, hey, this guy could break out, but he's not one of those guys. So I don't know. Maybe this is a total fluke, but 2 really good starts and one against the Blue Jays so far. So he's looking good. I'd make a speculative ad on him. Merrill Kelly should be rostered as well as Velo's up, and he's looked really good. Struck out a bunch of Astros, which is one of the harder things in the league to do, strike out the Astros. He did it. Maybe that was without Jordan. That that might have benefited him a bit, but a 34% strikeout rate there for Kelly. I wouldn't expect like an ace or an all-star or anything, but seems like he's good enough to count there and to start him every week. It looks like his teammate Carson Kelly. I searched Kelly and Carson Kelly's on here. He's a catcher. He had to throw a few pitches there, huh? Tough start for the Diamondbacks. All right, so that's the ups. Nestor Cortez, Kyle Wright, Andrew Heaney, Paul Blackburn, Matt Brash. I put Kyle Gibson on there as well, but I don't know. Probably it's Kyle Gibson. Let's not worry about him.
Yeah, I think real quick though, you might want to look at Tyler McGill. Just check out some of those stats.
Yeah.
He was a dude that went on kind of a little bit of a sick run last year. I had picked him up and rode that out, and then he kind of fell off. But this year he's looking pretty good. I mean, he's let up 6 hits, no walks, 11 Ks, and just over 10 innings. So what do the numbers say?
Yeah, 19% swinging strike rate is really good. 33% CSW is really good. And you're right, he was a prospect that had some hype. He wasn't like supposed to be an ace or anything, but 56% ground ball rates there. I mean, everything looks good today. He pitches tonight, unless that game is one of the weather ones. I know the weather's just miserable.
Yeah, as of right now, they're still playing, but that could change.
Okay, so then those numbers might change. But I marked him as like I give a score from 0 to 100 for every starting pitcher, like I mentioned at the beginning, and I marked him at an 85, which is one of the higher numbers I've given out. So I feel really good about him. But again, another guy, like I've identified all these players at least like somewhat quickly, but I don't have any of them in my pitching staff. Is just a mess. So one other guy I am hoping for that I did add is this Rays fellow, Josh Fleming, who strikes out a bunch of people, but I don't know. He's kind of a long reliever, not a new guy. So we'll have to watch him closely tomorrow against the Cubs and see how he looks. The down guys, we don't have to spend too much time here because it's Eduardo Rodriguez, Robbie Ray, Walker Buehler, Sandy Alcantara, Charlie Morton, Brandon Woodruff, and Shane Bieber. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about Eduardo Rodriguez so far because he's not like an ace by any means. And he's been so like up and down in his career, but it's a really bad start to the year.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys. Yeah, he was one of those guys where everyone was kind of looking at him to really bounce back. Maybe get a good opportunity in that division that they're playing at in Detroit, and he's just still walking people, which was, I know, a big problem over his career. 2 walks first game, 3 walks in the second game. That's 5 and 7 innings. Not looking great. He's only given up 1 home run, which isn't too bad. The strikeouts are still kind of there, but yeah, really hasn't put out that true ace performance or just below ace level that some people were thinking, including myself. And I know in the My Guys podcast, we had some discussion about him too. As of right now, early payoffs have not been there.
Yeah. But I mean, the White Sox and Red Sox as a left-handed pitcher,
sure,
that's who he's faced. And that's like, this have to be bottom 5 matchups for a lefty. I mean, the White Sox just murder lefties and they're healthy right now. So that's tough. And then Boston, and then it being so early in the year also, I would still be starting Eduardo, although I think he gets the Yankees this week. So I guess that's kind of on the fence. Are you starting him?
It depends on where we're at. I think with our matchup, you have a lot of guys going the next 2 days. So it might be kind of one of those things where if I don't have anything to lose, I'm going to throw him out there. But if we're close or you blow up, I might just bench him for the time being. Yeah.
If there's 3 teams that you don't want to see your left-handed pitcher face, I guess the Blue Jays would make the list, but Erod start White Sox, Red Sox, Yankees is about as bad as you can ask for.
Yeah, he goes Twins next, which could potentially be a good start, and then after that, we're looking at the Dodgers and then the Astros until we get to the A's. Yeah, to the A's and the Rays. So, and really until they start getting into it, looks like mid-May when they start hitting the division a little bit more. Cleveland, Minnesota, back to back. Pirates. I don't know. I might just be benching him for the next month.
He's a super guy to try to maybe wait for him to get bombed this week or hope for that and then put out a couple trade offers for him because, I don't know, that might not work out great, but if he just gets trashed again, then his owner is probably going to be frustrated. So maybe someone to try to take advantage of there, buy low. Shane Bieber, he's the only other one on this list of all the guys I just mentioned. That maybe Robbie Ray as well. So I mentioned Buehler, Alcantara, Morton, and Woodruff. I wouldn't do anything differently with them, although they've all had pretty bad starts so far. Maybe not Buehler, but he was low on the ranks, but I think he's been okay. I know he had a pretty good first start. But anyway, Bieber's fastball velocity is at averaging 90.8 miles per hour. I mean, he was never a flamethrower by any means, but I think he was like a 94 high 93s, low 94s average while he was pitching really well. And the other thing, you wouldn't worry too much about that if he wasn't coming off an injury. So people are pretty worried about Bieber, right?
Yeah. I mean, and looking at his only 2 games so far pitched this season, we're looking at Kansas City and Cincinnati. If you drafted Bieber or held on to him in a keeper league and you're kind of looking for something to happen there, an early spark, and he just didn't really do much. I know he didn't. The first game wasn't too bad. He went 4.2, 2 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. So, not terrible. And then, you'd hope for some more pitches, a little bit deeper into the next game. He went just another third of an inning against a really bad Reds team who got him for 2 hits. He walked 3. He was a little wild in the game, 5 Ks still, but just not one of those guys that's going to be delivering ace numbers here. Do you see anything that would say that he turns it around, or is he just kind of looking like he might be a sell candidate here at this point?
I don't know. I'd probably hold on, see if the velo can come back up. I mean, he never really relied on his fastball because his slider was so good, and he had a cutter and a curveball. He kind of was a guy that just made his living with pinpoint location and mixing things up and shadowing pitches really well. But I mean, you lose 3 miles an hour on a fastball. That's not going to end well. And strikeouts, so far, I don't know. I definitely, if we were drafting again today, I'd move him down 10, 15 slots or so just because of the injury. Like, you have to worry more about those guys that go through an injury like that and come back and don't look the same. So I don't know. It's too early to make any judgments, but you're certainly not feeling great about Bieber. And if someone will give you another ace-ish pitcher, like I'd probably take like a Frankie Montas for him, or maybe even a Pablo Lopez. That's probably someone that might sound a little bit crazy, and that certainly would have sounded crazy a year ago. But I think that's someone I really like, Pablo Lopez, that I think you could probably get for Bieber. So something like that would be interesting to me. So I don't know. Robbie Ray as well. I haven't paid any attention to him, but isn't he losing velocity as well?
I haven't either. Like I kind of said before, I don't pay attention to other players other than who's on my team and who my matchup really is, and I just check some stats here and there. So you can pull up his stat spread here. You can take a look.
Yeah, fastball's got 92.1. I don't think he was like a 98 guy either. Let's just pull up his old StatCast page. But it hasn't been a good start. Can you look up his first 2 game logs? Do you have that in front of you?
Yep. Give me 1 second. Looks like he first game was against Minnesota. He went 7 innings, 1 earned run. He had 4 walks though, which is pretty uncharacteristic of him last year. That walk rate was insanely low. We knew that he wasn't really going to sustain that, right? Probably playing over his head, but 4 walks, pretty bad. The Ks weren't there either. He had 5 and 7, not terrible, but you're expecting him to go at least, 9 Ks per 9. Second start was 6.1 against the White Sox. He got obliterated for 10 hits, 6 earned runs. He walked 2, gave up 3 homers. Kind of a trend we saw last year too, where whenever he was giving up runs, a lot of them were long balls, and still not striking out a lot of guys too. So kind of interesting to see where he goes with that.
Yeah, the velo's down pretty big time from 2021, 94.8 average on the 4-seamer, and now he's on to 91.9. So that's 3 full miles an hour down. And like you said, last year, he kind of resurged and it was literally just, he started throwing pitches down the middle. I mean, he threw more pitches in the center of the zone. They have StatCast puts each pitch location into one of 12, or I guess it's 13 different locations. And so the strike zone's broken down into 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like a telephone, like the numbers on your phone. And he put more pitches right in the middle, right in number 5 than anybody else. And it was just like, okay, this is all this guy needed to do. Why didn't he do this forever ago? But that's maybe not easy to sustain, is just throwing so many strikes. So alarming start for Ray. And I didn't want any of them anyway, just because he had the 1 year where he was kind of finally an ace, and I would have stayed away, but you're still starting them. But
yeah, looking at the schedule here real quick, I think the game today got delayed possibly, but he has Texas, and then he has Kansas City, and then potentially either Miami or Houston, depending on how the days shake out, and then some Tampa. And so I think you're still starting him, definitely hoping for a bounce back here in the next few starts, but it gets kind of alarming after that. You're looking at the schedule. We got Blue Jays, we got the Red Sox, we got Houston, some more Houston, Red Sox again. So he could be in for a pretty rough stretch here for next month plus.
Yeah. He gave up 3 here in the hitter game logs sheet. Here you can actually search by the pitcher they faced. So the 4 homers he's given up have been to Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, and Gio Urshela. So 3 out of 4 pretty good hitters that are just known to give lefties a lot of trouble. He's also walked Adam Engel, Ryan Jeffers, Miguel Sano, Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, and some not really guys you want to walk.
Can't be doing that.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, you can deal with the bad box score results if everything else looks the same and a guy gives up 4 earned runs or 6 earned runs, like who cares? It's 1 start or 2 starts. But with that lost velocity as well, that's a red flag. So keep a close eye on his velocity coming up. So the rest of those guys I mentioned, like I said, Buehler, Morton, Woodruff, Bieber, Alcantara, slow starts, but keep firing away on those guys. Ohtani as well. He looks just fine on the mound. Gave up a grand slam that hurt him quite a bit. So stuff like that. And it's, I would definitely just general rule. I'd be more willing to overreact, or it wouldn't be an overreaction then, but like make quicker judgments on hitters rather than pitchers, because pitching data is very, very much wonky and you kind of need like 5-6 starts to really believe anything. So take it easy on your pitchers. Don't overreact, but always be looking for guys to trade for, to trade away, especially these guys that have skill changes like the velo or whatever we're talking about. So, all right, that's a good hour of talk from week 1. There's so much to go over, and we'll be back next week with more and maybe a guest and maybe some more fun talk about our league. Maybe we'll bring on a couple guys from the Borough League to smack talk and see what they have to say. So what else we have to say? Producer League. We need some likes and reviews and 5 stars and stuff.
Yeah, of course. I mean, not a huge podcast by any means, but if you guys like the podcast and appreciate the content, John works very hard on this, and I put in some time producing it and making sure it gets out to you guys. If you like it, just leave a quick review, or at least just give some stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That just moves it up a little bit into the searches, and retweet, just share on Twitter if you can. That'd be super helpful, just getting it out to more people, spreading the stats and the word. And I think that's all we have for the rest of this week.
Do it to it. Talk to you next week.
See you guys.